thank you so much for being here with us. So our group, we want to see the whole valley go organic, and we're working towards that. And I wanted to give you this. This is holy basil. It's the 5th generation we grew here in the Okanagan. So
wonderful. Thank you.
You're so welcome. How would you imagine us transitioning this whole Okanagan Valley and perhaps beyond to organic in 5 years from now?
Well, that's the vision we work with, where we are working on making regions free of chemicals, free of GMOs in the cotton area, but also free of exploitation, because the industrial system is a system of exploitation. And that's the only reason farming is becoming an unviable occupation, when it is the most important of all. So as regions start to close the economy in circles and cycles of renewability, rather than these long-distance chains of exploitation, that's how the entire world's farming system will change.
And how do we inspire our policymakers and our governments to support organic instead of the conventional agriculture, like in Denmark or Bhutan?
Well, in places like Bhutan, where they had visionary leadership and said we're not going to measure growth and GDP, which only measures how fast you're destroying the earth and society. We're going to measure gross national happiness and the well-being of our people. I work with the government of Bhutan in the transition to 100% organic Bhutan. Last year, the International Federation of Organic Agriculture Movements, Nathania movement, and others, IASTD, the International Assessment of Science, Technology for Development in Agriculture, we all joined hands to have Bhutan as a lighthouse for the entire Himalaya. So an organic Himalaya is what we are working towards. Sikkim, a state next to Bhutan in India, has just been announced as 100% organic. I'm working with 5 states. I think what we need is back and forth between real practices that show this is better for the earth, for the economy, for people, and shame policymakers to shift tax money from the destructive to that which is for the benefit of all and the well-being of all.
Beautiful.
Yes, well, basically, Vandana, throughout your work, your practice, your intellectual contributions, you have laid down a clear explanation about coloniality of the mind, coloniality of the body, coloniality of the land. So my question is in that line, given your first-hand experience in India, is coloniality over in India?
I think a more vicious form of coloniality is beginning now. When the British started to create empires and the other European powers like the Spanish and the Portuguese and the French, they had basically worked out a very false jurisprudence that the land is empty. If it's not occupied by Europeans and Christians, it's empty. And basically other cultures, other human beings were defined into literally the fauna and flora, which could be destroyed for a civilizing mission. Today, all life is being declared empty. So when a Monsanto takes our wheat and takes a patent, it's the same terra nullius idea now as bio nullius. And the idea of patenting seed is based on the false claim to invention, when all you're doing is stealing. The difference between the coloniality of that colonialism of 500 years ago and the new is this is pushing the entire planet to the edge. And therefore we've got to liberate the earth, we've got to liberate our cultures, we've got to liberate our bodies.
So it's a statement of, in other words, in short, coloniality is not over, it's all over.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. It's all over if we allow it to unfold. And people who march the streets on TPP and TTIP understand that.
So, based on your community-based work, what could be the outline to counteract and fight coloniality?
Well, I've called it Earth democracy, recognizing first the gifts of the earth, the rights of nature, and most of our cultures recognized that the earth is Vasundhara, Bhumi, Pachamama, Gaia, Isis. And it's only in recent times we've declared the earth as property and raw material. The first step is to change our mindset and get out of the coloniality of the mind. The second is to build the systems, beginning with food, that sustain the earth, sustain our bodies, sustain our local living economies. The third is to not cooperate with the new coloniality which stands on the old. And this non-cooperation is what has given us freedom in each era. When Gandhi was asked, how did you come up with the idea of satyagraha, the force of truth, the idea of civil disobedience? He said, I didn't come up with it, I just studied how India stayed free. And I realized that every time people got up and said no to unjust rule. And that's how the civil rights movement of the US was born. That's how the anti-apartheid movement of South Africa was created, to refuse to cooperate with unjust law because there are higher laws we must obey. The laws of the earth and the laws of our humanity.
So in short, your message, among many other things, is let's strengthen the epistemological South, the rich diversity of epistemologies that belong to this rich diversity of cultures around the world.
Absolutely, because every claim to invention, whether it's salt-tolerant rice stolen from India or drought-tolerant maize, is basically a theft of the knowledge and the biological wealth of the South, in which the South is very rich. But it's made poor by the piracy, patenting, and the forcing of royalties for what was theirs, what was their gift. And the recognition by us of what we have, the exposure that when a Monsanto or a Gates Foundation says they are funding innovation, when all their funding is piracy, that lie must be exposed. And my next book is going to be on Bill Gates, because here's a man who, without working, has jumped in his wealth from 5 billion to 85 billion, and is the richest man. Now, a system where the non-working people become richer and richer and richer, and the hard-working farmer becomes poorer and poorer and poorer, something's very wrong with it. But Bill Gates has this idea of one agriculture, and an idea of one history. He is literally buying up archives, photos, to rewrite history, and to rewrite colonialism and coloniality as the civilizing mission. And that's why our diversities, as diversities of the mind, the diversities of our cultures, the diversities of life form, the diversities of economies, are diversities we must celebrate, reclaim, rejuvenate.
Beautiful. Just one more question. So for all of us, I'm a biodynamic grower, I'm representing Biodynamic BC movement, and for all the organic growers and all the advocates of organic here, do you have any more just encouraging thoughts for us here?
Well, you're all doing the most creative and the most important work for our times, for a transition, for the possibility to move from it's all over to it's just a new beginning.
One more question, Vandana, very short. The issue of education is so central at the community level as well as other levels, the more formal ones. Why indigenous agricultures are not taught in universities?
Well, the reason indigenous agricultures are not taught in universities is because the minute they're recognized for the sophistication that is, the system that sells poisons as the only means to progress would just crumble. And the corporations that have built their super profits on this, they are experts whose expertise comes from denial. And yet, of course, whether it be indigenous agriculture or new names to the continuity of indigenous agriculture, after all, when Albert Howard wrote the Agricultural Testament, he was building on indigenous knowledge of India. When biodynamic farming emerged, it's building on the Vedic traditions of India. That's when Steiner made all those deep connections. And I've seen women who, when they're being taught how to make the homeopathic systems, they said, we used to do this and you came and told us it was superstition and unscientific. Now you come and teach us. So I think the recognition of the science and knowledge in indigenous systems, the putting them at the center of the agriculture of the future. Of course, those who can't by this denial won't do it. We have to do it. But when we do it across societies, and we do it in solidarity, and we do it with mutual respect, it is the bigger system, and it is the better system.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You're so brilliant.